everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Yes, Kim, thank you. My name is Michael Anthony Smith, and I live in West Fargo, North Dakota, the great state of North Dakota where everybody freezes in the winter.
So how's the weather out there right now?
I'll tell you what's going on, Kimberly, is we have these Canadian wildfires, and for some reason they don't believe in putting them out. So we have all this haze and smoke coming in from Canada because my distance to Canada is about a 2.5 hour drive. So all that smoke's coming my way on a otherwise what would be beautiful sunny summer days here. It's all hazy from the campfire or the big fires up in Canada.
Okay, and can we talk about your past leading up into your present, Mr. Smith?
Certainly. So I was born in Aberdeen, South Dakota. My dad was a manager for the J.C. Penney clothing store chain, and he had 5 kids to support. I'm the fourth out of the 5. I'm fourth, so I just have one little sister underneath me. But anyway, when I was 3, we moved to Sauk Center, Minnesota, and I spent all of my life pretty much in Minnesota. So we moved to Sauk Center, Minnesota, which is a beautiful little town, 5,000 people roughly, right in the center of the state, and lots of lakes to fish and do all that summer activity with. And then after, when I was 12 years old, my dad got fired from the J.C. Penney store, and we had very few options. So his dream in life, Kimberly, was to own his own clothing store. So he found one that he believed in up in Barnesville, Minnesota, which is about a half hour outside of Fargo, but still in the Minnesota side of things. So anyway, did that for 3 years, and then he passed away of a massive heart attack from all the stress. And I was 15 years old when that happened. So I shared this with you before we came on air. That was my first suicide attempt. I'm a 2-time suicide survivor. I want to get that out there to your audience. And so that was the first attempt. I was so depressed losing him. We were
What
very
did you
close.
do, if you don't
I,
mind me asking?
yeah. Before I get into telling you exactly what I do, because it's very, when people hear it, it's going to be kind of not so pleasant. But anyway, I want to get this out there quickly, if I could, before we go
Yeah,
too
go
far.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wrote my autobiography, which took me 30 years, and I got it published by Brooklyn Publishers out in New York. And I give that away for free on the homepage, at the bottom of my homepage on my website, which is theguttergospel.com. You can
Mm-hmm.
go there, click on the PDF, it opens it up and explains exactly what I did. And I'll share it with you now,
Oh,
how
okay.
yes, but everything's in the book for you guys. I always refer people there. And there's also sample chapters on my website, theguttergospel.com, when you can see what it's like to suffer from bipolar. I write about on those sample chapters, very raw. And before the ghostwriters out of Brooklyn Publishers got a hold of it, I wrote the raw truth about that. So I wanted to get that out there. So let me explain what I did on my first suicide attempt, getting back to your question. I was drinking with a bunch of my buddies over at my house while my mom, since my dad had passed away, my mom was now trying to run the clothing store on her own, so the house was empty. We all skipped school and were drinking. Okay, so I I said, hey guys, I have this great idea. How about we have this amazing experience that you've never tried before? It's the most fun you'll ever have. And what they did not know, Kimberly, is that I was so depressed, like I said, that I was practicing trying to kill myself in a car by just going 100 miles an hour and hitting a highway intersection, and with blind spots
I
coming on both
remember.
sides.
I
Yeah.
remember
So,
reading that. Yeah.
yeah. And so what happened was I loaded up a car full of them, and we went out there, and as I was speeding up and coming to that approach, they were just scared out of their minds, and I lost control of the car. Thank God I survived it all. Didn't hurt anybody, but we wound up in the ditch and flipping the car. So didn't have any friends after high school, with pulling that stunt. So wound up leaving that town, tried college for a year, flunked out of college, but I did meet a guy in there that would supply me with marijuana. His name was Don Matthews, and I would run across Don later in life
What
after I got.
what years what years was this? The
Yeah,
70s, 80s?
yeah. I graduated high school in 1983, so fall
Okay.
of '83, and then going into '84, I was in Fergus Falls College, and it was kind of ironic or foreshadowing because they had this program where college students could live rent free up on the top floor of the state mental hospital if they would work a certain amount of hours on one of the wards taking care of the patients that were
Wow, that's a
there.
good trade-off.
Yeah, that was how I kind of made my way through college. But it exposed me to all these people that I would actually be that patient later in life and
Mhm,
be
mhm.
committed in a state hospital, which we'll get to at the end or, during our conversation. And so I did that, like I said, for a year, flunked out of college because I was not a good student, wasn't paying attention, had so much going on in my life that I joined the Air Force because my dad was in the Air Force. So now this is July of '84 to be exact. And basic training was down in San Antonio and Lackland. I was then had all of my schooling across San Antonio at an Air Force base called Brooks, which was a medical school, and that was uh, that was kind of interesting in the Air Force. My old joke about this, and I know you're a veteran, so you'll appreciate what I'm about to share with you, which is when you fill out those dream sheets about where you'd like to be stationed, you're dreaming if you think anybody actually looks at those. Right? They put you where they want you in the military, and you have no say about it, right, Kimberly?
Right,
So
right.
but I never got out of the state of Texas as a result because I wanted to go overseas and see the world and do that while I was still young and had that, energy to do that. So, but yeah, I never got out of the state of Texas. Like I said, everything was in San Antonio. Then I got stationed at Shepherd Air Force Base up in Tornado Alley in Wichita Falls, Texas. So, that's when I bumped into a bunch of guys that were getting high, and I fell back into my old routine from high school and college pretty quick. And all of us got busted doing that about 2.5 years into the service. So went back to land in Fargo Moorhead area because I was basically having no options and nowhere to go. And that guy that I met in college, that Don Matthews, ran into him out at a bar one night. And we both decided that we were going to grow marijuana, high grade marijuana,
In
in
the
this little house.
80s?
Yes, that we decided to rent in Moorhead. Yeah, that's what we were up to, my friend. So, anyway, Donnie was a fifth degree black belt in Taekwondo. So the guy was in tremendous shape, ex Marine. So Donnie was a great guy. He was an
Hoorah.
attendant. Yeah, he's diehard Donnie, boy. I tell you what, he got me so in the best shape I ever been in my entire life. That summer of '88, I'll never forget it, man. That guy, yeah, you talk about and it was kind of ironic because I would meet my wife like that coming next fall, that same fall, and we've been married for 36 years. So I knew her
Congratulations.
6 weeks before I proposed to her, if you can believe that nonsense. But anyway,
Back in the day,
so
it was like that back in the day. You fell in love
yeah, it
hard.
was not like
Yeah,
today with everything with
exactly.
social media and all that. No, I
Yeah.
pass on all that stuff. So I don't know if you guys notice this, but I don't even have Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff up because it's like I know it would help my story get out there, but I'm tying in now, which we'll get to it later, with all these great big faith-based organizations on a global scale, national scale, local scale, helping me grow it, my story. And because it's picking up and getting steam because so many people can relate to it. The title The Gutter Gospel came to me 2-3 years ago. I've had that domain reserved and I never put two and two together until just recently, like I was sharing with you before we came on air, because everybody's been through the gutter in life. they've had their struggles, they've had their issues. And I did a podcast interview not all that long ago, and the title of it was Everybody's Addicted to Something. And the lady shared with me on there, we were supposed to record an episode and I was all set to go, and she canceled on me, and she emailed me and said, could we do it in 2 or 3 days? So I said, no problem, I'm here for you anytime you're open to it, right? And what happened was, she said, Mike, I feel so bad by canceling, but what happened was that my husband was not paying the mortgage for the last several months because he's got a severe gambling addiction. Okay, my addiction was alcohol, and other people's addiction could be, you name it. Everybody's got something, whether
Caffeine,
caffeine, pornography,
yeah.
overeating, drinking, drugs. I mean, like the old Guns N' Roses song says, we got all your fun and games, we got your disease. So that's kind of,
Oh,
yeah, that's, you name it, people are hooked on it. These days, social media, video games, I mean, it just something. It's not a healthy blend. You got to get out and be involved in the community, which I'm doing now by leading
and you
men's groups.
speak, right?
Uh,
You
yeah,
speak.
I
Tell me
speak.
about that.
Yeah, I really enjoy it because, as you can tell, I like to gab. I'm a pretty fair communicator, so I like to get out there to those guys in the small groups that are struggling and lead it. We talk right out of the Life Recovery Bible, which is basically God's look, how he looks at addicts and how much he still loves them, as much as they might struggle and be the prodigal son like me. He still just wraps his arms around them unconditionally and loves them, died for them, which I'd like to get into now with my manic breaks on the sample chapters. You guys can read the first one, but I want to get into the second one in the interest of time, because this one is something that people can really relate to, about how dark it can really get. I had bought the Tony Robbins, uh, um, they're like Personal Power is what I bought back in 99, because got promoted at the city transit system up through the ranks, and I was looking to become a better manager. I was under a lot of stress and I did not want to die young like my dad. So I was looking for solutions and answers to get off the alcohol and to be a worthwhile citizen, so to speak. So I've
How
been
did you
cramming
get
all.
off the alcohol? I'm sorry. How
I
did you?
shared that with you before we came on air about Brad
I
dying.
I know,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to
Yeah.
be out there.
Yeah, and got severely depressed after that. And then when the first of the year rolled around this year, I just said to myself, I'm done with it. I'm not going to continue this, and I want to honor Brad's memory by mentioning him. He wasn't my only friend, but he was my closest friend. And
Mhm.
just he'd give you the shirt off his back. Just a great guy. But anyway, um, I wanted to do something to honor his memory. So I got all the journaling that I'd been doing the last 30 years when I was going through all my trials. I would always journal for some reason. I don't know why. But with that being said, what I did was I put it all together and got it published by Brooklyn Publishers, like I said, out in New York. That was in January. And then I got into podcasting and everything else. So now we're just kind of getting up to the current day of where we're at. But back in 99, that episode, I wound up touring hell in a straitjacket for 3 straight days right before Thanksgiving in 99, because I'd been cramming all that Tony Robbins stuff into my head and I was missing out on sleep. So one day right before Thanksgiving, after listening to all those tapes, I was driving back to my office, and the voice came to me and just quietly and said, Mike, what do you really want out of life? And I kept thinking about more money, more this, more that. And the answer was like, no, no, no. What do you really want, Mike? What would really satisfy you? And it came to me. And the answer was, I said, Kimberly, what happened was I said, I guess I want acceptance. I just want acceptance. That's it. And then the voice came to me. Now, this was God or Tony or what, a mix, whatever, said, Mike, I do accept you and I love you and I died for you. Now go out and tell the world. That was the message. So I stopped my car on Main Avenue in Fargo during lunch hour, rush traffic, and started pounding on the hoods of cars saying, the end of the world is here and God loves you. Now go share it with the world. So a cop stops, and this is in the sample chapter, so you can read this, right? So a cop stops, pulls me out of the traffic, gets that flown again, and says to me, "What's going on with you, Mike?" And I said, "You know,
I'm
oh,
surprised
it
you
gets
didn't say
better."
Michael.
Yeah, it gets better, Kimberly. So I said, God loves you, man. The end of the world is here, and I'll go out and share it with the world. And I'm trying to explain to him all this, right? He's like, this makes no sense. So he asked me, who do you know in town? So he could kind of pin me down, right? And I said, well, I know your boss, for starters, the chief of police, because he's married to my little sister. Okay. So I named him, and then my wife, who runs a very big, successful nonprofit here in town to help kids. So named her too. So he goes, okay, well, so he puts me in the back of a squad car, Kimberly, and he drives me to the hospital, and they stick me up on a psych unit to evaluate me. And what happened was, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't pace, and the voices were just getting really demonic on me, like, you know, just this, that, and the other thing, which you can read it in the sample chapters, because I don't
Do
want to
you
use
think
all that.
alcohol? Do you think alcohol
No,
played a role?
I was clean there,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
all
yeah.
that
So
time.
alcohol, there was no drugs in your system, and you were
No
just
drugs.
lacking sleep. It was the
Right,
sleep.
exactly.
You were so
Sleep
amped up
deprivation.
and worried, racing thoughts that you
Yes.
you were worried about your life. You just wanted acceptance.
Yes, ma'am. You got it. You got it right on the head. So, but yeah, I just wound up yelling at the doctors that were in the hospital that were trying to get me to sleep. So I'm in the room and they're saying to me, Mike, you just need sleep. So I said, if you don't get me out of this hospital, I'm going to sue every one of you. So they released me against doctor's orders, right? And when I went home that night, Kimberly, I was pacing severe, just constantly. I could not sleep. And then in the morning, the next morning, the ambulance comes because I was screaming, and my wife said she could see my eyes roll back in my head. I was screaming out in torment, like what it would be like to be in hell.
Hey,
Okay.
say that again,
And
because
what
you went
happened
out.
to me
You
that
went out
always,
for a second. You went out for a second. We'll
what
edit that
happened
part.
was, yeah, what happened was my eyes rolled back in my head, and because I was screaming out in so much torment. And my 4-year-old son at the time witnessed this, so it traumatized him for life watching all this take place. Because the ambulance comes, puts me in a straitjacket, takes me up to the padded cell where I toured hell for 3 days. I know what it was like to feel the heat, the torment, the accusations constantly, all that stuff, and to be separated forever from God. So that is the message that I am bringing to the world, is to say, you don't want any part of that, man. Regardless of your belief system and how you were raised, it doesn't matter. This is for all the marbles,
Was this
God
at a
loves
VA hospital that you stayed at, or
no,
was it
man.
a civilian?
Civilian one. Yeah, the
Do
big
you
one here
think
in town.
do you think that there should be some changes within the mental health facility system,
I'm an
or
I'm an
no?
yeah. Yeah, I'm an advocate for it because, now we move forward, Kimberly, after all
Mhm.
this, right? To where I couldn't function in life anymore. And that's
Okay.
what led me to my second suicide attempt. Was the only job I could find after that. They fired me from the bus station. I wound up driving cab at night. And just people would make fun of you. It's like, what's the matter with you, loser? Can't find a real job and all this other stuff, right? And I'm hauling them around, they're getting drunk and all this other stuff that I witnessed. And it's like, I just went home one night and started to hang myself this time. And I just said, God, this is it. I'm just finished. I don't want it, right? And as you can tell, it gets emotional because there was this little voice that said, your life still has a purpose. So that stopped me. And but it got harder. After that, my life got even harder. I went through
How?
treatment centers, and I got a civil commitment placed on me both in North Dakota and in Minnesota. And they put me in 2 different homeless shelters. Plus, they had to commit me to the state mental hospital for 6 weeks, right? And in chains, I would ride in the back of a paddy wagon, and they would shuttle me from the state hospital in Jamestown, which is 100 miles west of here, right? And they would bring me before a judge to beg for my freedoms, and I was denied for 5 straight weeks. And when they finally did release me, they released me to another homeless shelter, my second one. This one was for veterans in Fargo. Upstairs were veterans, downstairs were criminals, and we would eat our meals together. These people that
I
would come
don't
over.
like that. I don't like that because you mix criminals with veterans. That's like when you were smoking weed in the military. It just don't mix. Our minds
Right,
don't tell us what to do. Like for instance, when you were smoking weed at the time, the peer pressure and everything else that came with smoking, even if you were, let's say, the ringleader, it's just the fact that you had a lot of people around you that were counting on you to smoke this weed, and it's just it could go so many different ways. But yeah,
right, yeah.
continue.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I was just, what happened, what turned it all around, Kimberly, I'm in the homeless shelter now and having gone
Mhm.
through all these trials again, guys, please read the book. It's
Yes.
worth, it's free, so it's worth your time. Don't don't charge you. And I also want to mention that you can donate to me if you'd like. I got a donate now tab for GoFundMe that feel free to give or not give. It's irrelevant. A penny, a dollar, nothing. I don't
If you have
really.
the money, you can
If you
donate.
have
If
the
you
money and
don't
feel
have it,
blessed,
just pray for him.
exactly right. That's well said. I couldn't agree more. Um, and I pray now. It was so cool. This Saturday, at one of my men's groups, this particular Saturday, all the men gathered around me and prayed for me because they see all these blessings now that are coming my way. So let me back up a step and say the only thing that broke it, and you can relate to this totally, is that I'm sitting in the cot in my bed in the homeless shelter, and all of a sudden, this lady comes in and says, "Hey, Mike, you got some mail." And I'm thinking to myself, mail? After all I've been through, man, who? I've lost all my friends. Who's mailing me? Right? So what happened was there was 2 big checks that I opened up for all the back pay and 100% rating from the VA, just like
How
you.
much did you get? How much did you get?
Oh,
I'll tell you how much I get.
it was several thousands, let's put it that way, and I
Okay,
bought
several
myself.
thousands for me too. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So it was such a blessing. That's how it all turned around for good old Mike up in Fargo, and it's like I
Did you
just
get a house
man,
or
I
something?
yeah, I bought myself a nice twin home with a park in the back. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I bless others too, Kimberly, with it. We take the guys from the small men's group up to Itasca State Park in Minnesota. And just FYI, if you guys don't know why that's so special, is that's the head of the Mississippi River. You can see where it starts as just a little stream and a trickle that
Get
flows
out of
into
here.
yeah, that flows into Lake Itasca. And every podcast I'm on, I always share this with people and say, if you're the host, I got to get you a t-shirt from Itasca State Park because it's so funny. What it says is, I walk naked across the Mississippi River. Because it's so small, you can just walk across it. They sell those shirts in the gift shop. I had to get that out there. So I
Dude,
I treat all the guys to Itasca. We're going up next month for the fall colors, and it's just gorgeous and such a blessing. So
where do
yeah.
you see yourself going in the future?
Oh, well, I shared some of this with you, and I'm getting all these emails as I'm watching this and interviewing with you that are coming in now from these news networks over the weekend. You'll appreciate this because I think your mind works a lot like mine. Just getting to know you today, and that is that it's just like the mind of an addict. I'm either going to do it all or I'm not going to do any of it, right? So I reached out on that email I sent you to all of the big media outlets around the world, all the local ones, all the national ones, and all the global ones like BBC, Reuters, USA Today, TVN, you name it. I reached out to them, and that's what's starting to come in my inbox now. In the emails is people picking up my story. So you got great timing, Kimberly, to
Great.
see how my story literally is changing right before our eyes during this podcast, because all those places wouldn't return my call because it was the weekend. So now that it's Monday morning, my time, just getting up, people are getting back to me.
You know
But
what you need to do? I would
yeah,
suggest this. Um,
yeah,
do like on your own time, have somebody interview you where it's like from who's who, Marquise who's who, which that wouldn't constitute that, but a publisher, podcast business news network, they interview people for like 10 minutes or 5-10 minutes, I believe, up to 15 minutes, and they put it on YouTube. And it's like going to a TEDx talk or something where you get a whole bunch of people looking at your story. And then, Hollywood may end up picking it up, but you got these Christian networks willing to pick it up, but it will probably be on Lifetime or something. As far as
yeah.
Lifetime, I hope it end up on Lifetime. You have a great story. I mean, it's not great in a good way. It was great in a bad/good way, where you went through something and you learned from the experiences, but it's never quite, finished, because it comes in seasons. The how people can trick you into going back to those same type of behaviors. So you
Yeah.
have to be careful of how you um do what you do. you know
Well, it's interesting you say that, because since I'm a Christian, I surround myself with all of these guys from my men's group that pray for me and have my back and say, Mike, once this thing starts to really take off, like we're thinking it's going to, because you're heading that way, there's going to be two types of people: the people that support you and the people that want something for you and want to tear you down. So
yes.
I'm well aware of that, and that's why I reached out not just to CBN, TBN, Joyce Myers, and all these other faith-based ones. I also reached out to Hollywood. Some of those people are messaging me saying, "Well, this has." I'm going to email you after the show what I have that people are looking for, that's so compelling that it will be turned into a movie, because like I shared with you, I've already got two producers and directors that want to pick it up, and I'm
Yeah, we
heading to the
barely scratched the surface. We barely scratched the
yeah,
surface on your story. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
because it's the gutter. It's so relatable, like I said earlier, because everybody struggled. It's ever since the fall of man back in the Garden of Eden. Nobody's perfect. They all got their flaws. They either think they're too ugly or too fat or too this or too that. And you guys are going to love the page 70. If you just want to scroll down to that in my book, it's called Sea of Tears, the parable of the muddy penny, when Jesus appeared to me in a dream one night. And what that basically is talking about is how little self-respect and the ugliness people all around the world feel about themselves when they look in the mirror. They don't have enough self value to think of themselves in any better light than a dirty, gutter, muddy penny that has no value, that people just toss away. And God in the dream said to me, "Take one of those out of that massive pile and bring it to my feet and wash it here in the sea of tears until it shines like a brand new penny." So you'll read about this. It talks about, me doing that. And then God saying to me, "You made it shine so bright and brand new. Now go out and share that same message with one other person so that they can be having more self-worth and self-value and shine like a brand new shiny penny and bless others, love others, and grab another muddy penny from the big pile and wash it in the sea of tears. So that's that one. Brooklyn Publishers out in New York did a great job putting it together out of what I wrote initially about that dream. So it's worth the read, and again, it's free. So it's worth your time.
I wanted to say, how can the people reach you? We're out of time now.
Oh, okay. I give my personal business email out to people that are struggling, and I do my best to get back to them on a personal level. And that email I'll leave you guys with is simply just my first name, Mike, at theguttergospel.com. That's my business email. That's the first thing I do after I pray every morning and read a little bit out of the Life Recovery Bible is to answer those emails. And then we start up a conversation one on one if we need to, and that takes time. So again, I'm funding all this with my disability, but I'm so excited about the ICVM Storytellers Conference. I fly out next month, September 30th. The conference is October 1st through the 4th with everybody. I got a booth there, so it's all set.
Great, man. I'm glad to see that you're networking and doing the right things. When you get close to God and have people, peers that are close to God, doors open for you. Doors definitely open for you. I can see that with a lot of people and you as well. So I wish nothing but the best for you. Stay on the line though. You guys take care and thank you all for joining my show. Take care, be safe, and I'm glad that y'all were listening to this. Bye bye.